Hello, I'm your Kingdom Spiritual Transformational and Life Purpose Life Coach and Mentor, Latricia Booker, here with Kingdom Business, where we are empowered, where we heal, we get delivered, and we get free. We know who we are. We elevate our minds and our spirits and raise and expand our consciousness to ultimately walk in our true divine purpose and power. And that is the truth of who God has created us to be. Kingdom people. We are history makers. We are world changers. We are dream successors. We are wealth generators. We are manifestors. We are curse breakers. And we most definitely are transformers. More than meets the eye. Yeah, Kingdom people. We are. Kingdom people, thank you all so very much for viewing my videos. Thank you for all the likes, subscribes, for the shares, for all of your comments and feedback, for all the financial contributions to my channel, for all the seeds you sow into me and my ministry, for all the super thanks, for all your purchases from my merch store, for all the bookings, for everything you do here, Kingdom people, all of your encouraging and inspiring words, Kingdom people. I really do appreciate you all. Y'all my Kingdom people. Thank you so much, Kingdom people, for being here and for everything you do. Thank you, Kingdom people. Thank you. So, Kingdom people, you already know what I'm here to do on location. And if you don't know, then now you know. I am here to drop this beat, this word, this message. Yeah. So, Kingdom people, I am the chain breaker. And you too are chain breakers, Kingdom people. Are y'all ready to break these chains? Let's go. Let's go. So listen to this, Kingdom people. So Kingdom people, God is pulling you back from people to launch you forward. You heard me right? I repeat it for you, Kingdom people. God is pulling you back from people to launch you forward. That's right. God gave me the depiction of a bow and an arrow. How you pull the bow, the arrow back in the bow before it launches forward. God said, I'm pulling you back from people, situations, circumstances, but he specifically said from people to launch you forward. So, Kingdom people, what has happened is this. Some of you all, well, many of you all, most of you all of you all. It's true. Whether you're doing it willingly, cooperatively, or not, either people are leaving your life or you are distancing yourself from people. Reason being, because God is getting ready to launch you forward. I'm just hearing the launching is already happening for many of you. This is the thing. Specifically, God is pulling many of you back from people, causing you to distance yourself from people. Because, Kingdom people, everybody can't go where you're going. Number one. Secondly, secondly, here's the thing. Clutter. When you have a lot of clutter, and I mean people and their energy, when you have a lot of clutter around, it's too much static and too much going on for you to take off smoothly. I'm reminded of the clearing that takes place for an airplane to take off. It's kind of the same thing. The coast has to be clear for that plane to take off. You have to clear. You can't, an airplane can't take off if it's all kind of people around and other planes in front of it and on the side. It can't take off. The way has to be clear. Kingdom people, it's the same way with you. The way has to be cleared for you to take off. God is pulling you back from people because he's clearing the way for you to take off. This is the thing, Kingdom people. Some people God pulls us back from, as we already know, many of them are them ones that don't mean us no good. And he shows us. You know, you may be around some of these people for some time, some of them all your life. But over time, at some point, you begin to see some things, or you start to realize that these people were not good for you. Even some of those ones that just took you a while to pull back. When God told you to distance yourself and fall back, that's when you did. Or when you will. In the meantime, what's happening, kingdom people, is God is making you aware. And he's allowing these people to show themselves so that you can see who and what they really are. Now, let me say this, kingdom people. Sometimes people are not always on purpose coming at us, trying to stop us, block us. Yeah, we get a lot of that, kingdom people. And so it's very obvious who those people are. And we know very well and upfront that they're no good for us. And we need to remove ourselves from them and remove them out of our lives simultaneously. But the thing is, kingdom people, sometimes people are not directly doing anything to us to harm us or to try to hurt us. Sometimes, kingdom people, it's just the state and the condition of their soul and their spirit and their mental, where they are, where you just realize through your own knowing, and of course God, showing you, and you just having that discernment to know that these people are not conducive for your well-being or where you're going. So what happens, kingdom people, we all live in this world. All kind of stuff happen to us. Most of us have had some form of PTSD, some form of trauma. And what happens, kingdom people, we go on with our lives. And though many people, unfortunately, don't really clear those things up. They're not really dealing with those unresolved issues. And what happens is, because they're not doing that, that's something that's still happening within them. That's not good for them, but it definitely is not good for you, because, kingdom people, you're healing, you're recovering, you're doing all the work to where your spirit is being, I'm hearing, height, you're ascending. That's what I'm really hearing. I was trying to say something else, but God is saying you're ascending and you're transcending a bunch of your issues and unresolved issues, should I say. You resolved them. And so that's why you ascend. You transcend, which means overcome, and then you ascend. You're doing that. Some of these people are not doing that, have not done that. It's like they keep repeating the same cycles over and over. Understandably so. Most of the world is under a generational curse or spell or ritual of some sort. It's just part of what happens. It's just part of what it is. And it's not easy. It's not easy to overcome, but it can be overcome. Jesus said he already overcame the world. That's why you can have peace. But in order to really embody that and experience that, you do have to do the work. Many people, kingdom people, are not, as we talk about here on this channel quite often, many people are not allowing the work to be done in them. And they might, sometimes people can talk a good game. Some of these people are smart people. You listen to them, they're very intelligent. They even have very, I don't know, certain thought patterns that are intriguing. They're interesting people. When you hear some things that they say, they're very smart. However, smart don't mean you free from unresolved issues. Smart don't mean you don't have demons. And so again, what happens is, kingdom people, when you're not overcoming and you're not transcending these issues, you're not doing the work, no matter how smart you are, that stuff is still there. What happens with you, kingdom people, is you're able to discern and feel really what's going on in these people. Whether you know specifically or not, you can sense that y'all spirits just don't mesh. Even again, if these are people that you've been dealing with for some time, over time, you're seeing things. But what we tend to do is look past a lot, not in a way like, this is the thing. Again, as we already know, people got stuff. So we will look past stuff. And we're just going about our business. We're not trying to be judgmental. We're not trying to trip on them. It is what it is. We all have something to work through. So we just assume that they'll get through it. They'll work through it. But what happens is, not saying that they don't and won't ever, But as you're doing your work and you're transcending, again, you're ascending. So you're coming up higher. Sometimes these people are just still where they are. You know, they may do whatever needs to be done, but because you're moving forward, you kind of naturally can't even tolerate them or be around them anymore. And what happens with is, not always, some people we can do in small doses, but what happens, kingdom people, is sometimes what's going on in them, it's kind of like you allergic to it. And again, you're moving forward. So God will have you distance yourself from them. And again, many times this comes in the form of you just really can't do them. And then the other part of that, kingdom people, is if they're not resolving their issues and dealing with their stuff that they have going on, and a lot of times these demons that set so in them, it just become one with them. So it's just become kind of who they are. Doesn't mean they can't overcome it, but that's a whole nother thing. You are overcoming. And so what happens, kingdom people, you get to seeing that people in the same place doing the same thing, they just repeating cycles. That's not what you're doing. You're overcoming. Now, some of these people will try to keep you in a cycle. In a cycle, maybe one that you had of your own, or in a cycle with them, knowingly and sometimes unknowingly. Either way, you begin to see just a continuous cycle. You're not about staying in cycles. You complete cycles and overcome and come out and go into something new. And I'm hearing God is doing a new thing. You move into the new thing that God is doing with you, so you don't keep repeating cycles. I'm hearing you break cycles. You're a curse breaker. So you break the curses, even the curses that may have been on you just due to you being a part of certain cycles. And so what happens is, because you're doing that work, you have to release yourself from a lot of these people and release them from you. So kingdom people, God is pulling you back from certain people so that he can launch you forward. He has to pull you back from certain kind of people, again, because they're just not conducive to your well-being, your spiritual well-being, your mental well-being, none of that. I'm just hearing to your purpose. They're not conducive to your purpose. They're not conducive to what God is doing in you and where God is taking you, because they're stuck in these cycles and in these patterns. And what happens, kingdom people like that, whether they do it knowingly or unknowingly, they can be a hindrance to you. So what happens, in order for God to launch you, he has to pull you back from these people so he can launch you. Just like that bow in that arrow. I'm going to try it. So you pull back. I don't know if I'm making sense here, but you pull the bow back. That's God pulling you back from people. So he got to clear the way, pull you back, so all them people can move away, so their energy won't be all up in your stuff, even when they still try. Because sometimes they still hang on to you because God, I want to say God, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but kingdom people, they try to hang on to you and your energy because you're something to hold on to. Not saying they should be doing that, but you're something special. I'm just hearing you're the chosen one. You're kingdom people. You are God's elect. You are anointed. People want to hold on to that. Even if they tried to hurt you, stop you, block you, even if they still trying, they want to hold on to what it is that you are. So again, even though God is pulling you away from, some people still trying to linger on. Doesn't matter. As long as you withdraw and distance yourself from them. Period. Not just physically, but you have to just cleanse yourself of them. Even if they're still trying to linger on to you, and you might pick up on it and feel it, it doesn't matter, because as long as you're not engaging or interested and you just stay in your position, pull back, that's clearing the way for you. So what happens is, kingdom people, God is pulling you back so he can launch you forward. He's pulling you back from people. He needs you to wipe them out your life, or some not so much completely wipe out, but just distance yourself from them. Distance yourself from them so you can launch forward. So kingdom people, God is pulling you back from people so that he can launch you forward. And again, what happens is, sometimes people are just toxic for you. They may not be toxic for other people, or some other folks, because they're not you. You are where you are. You are where God has you, and you are going where God has you going. And I'm hearing it's your time now. When it's your time and it's time for God to launch you, He will clear the way. He will pull you back from people. I know personally for me, over the last year, actually it's been a couple of years or so, God, I just been having to release some people. And I know the last few releases that I've done, right after that, God just kind of moved me to start moving into some things. And I couldn't help but notice that He had me release people first. And this is the thing, like I said before, I was seeing things with them. And I just realized, okay, this is just what they are. And it wasn't even about me trying to make a decision. Ooh, should I do this? Should I do that? That wasn't even a thought in my mind. When you need to be released, you just need to be released. But what I noticed was I started to, I want to say, God started to launch me. I'll say it like that without saying too much. Soon after certain people I released from my life, or distance myself from, should I say, it started to move. And I had seen this previously some years back. Back in 2016, 17, something like that. I had to separate myself from a relationship. And soon after, and I started seeing, open doors, things working out. And the further I distanced myself from this person, and at some point just completely removed them from my life, it just got better and better. Of course, since then, I've had some experiences, some little turbulence. Because remember, just like that airplane, it needs to clear pathway to take off. But what happens is you could be in mid-air and be up in them clouds. You might experience some turbulence. So on your way, you might experience some turbulence. So I've been experiencing some turbulence. I had experienced some turbulence and still sometimes do. But you on your way. But the point is, God had to pull you back from some people. I keep hearing places too. Places, situations, all kind of stuff. But specifically, I'm speaking about people or whatever. Okay? Before He launches you forward. So, what am I saying? The reason why God have you pull back for a lot of times, yeah, He doing the work with you. Because as we know, sometimes God will isolate you so He can deal with you. So He can teach you some things, show you some things. And usually He does that by you having to release some folk. Or they call themselves betraying you. And they, they just leave. Or they call themselves just leaving you. Like I like to say, these ones that think you need them. And if they walk away, they think you're not going to be able to function without them. But that's a whole nother thing. Point is, either way it go, God is pulling you back from the people. Whether it be them moving around or whether it be you pulling back. Even the ones that move around, I just told someone the other day, they were sharing with me how all these people, now they don't want to have nothing to do with them. Now that they saying no about some things. Give me, or you're not just cooperating with what they want. As if we're here to give people what they want. Anyway, especially when it's not good for you. When it's just where they're taking from you and they just want to use you. Anyway, they were just sharing with me how all these people didn't want to have nothing to do with them because they were saying no to stuff they was wanting from them. And I said, that's actually a good thing. That's God removing them from your life because He don't want you around all them kind of people that just want to take. And now they mad because you're not giving in to what they wanted from you. And my thing was, they're showing you who they are. They're showing you. And I told her, because you're cool with them not being there and you going on with your life, I told her, I promise you, watch they want to come back around. But it's the thing of, because now they know that you okay with now having them in your life. People that withdraw from you for the reason of trying to control you is just that. When they withdraw from you because you're not giving them something that's not even appropriate, what they want, because they want to use and take from you, and you're saying no to that, you have boundaries. When they want to, when they call themselves not having nothing to do with you, that's a way of punishing you. That's narcissistic, actually. That's a narcissist. That's their way of punishing you and making in their mind, making you give in to what they want, because in their mind you need them, or you're not going to be okay without them. So it's their way of trying to break you down. But when you don't do that and you go ahead on about your business, they be trying to come back around. I told this person, when they try to come back around, you tell them to stay where they at. Tell them to stay where they at. I'm here. Just keep saying no. No. Now you saying no. Now you can't come back. Stay gone. I told this person they actually did you a favor. People be doing you a favor when they walk away, because you're not giving them what they want, because you're not allowing them to manipulate you, control you, I'm here and even tear you down. Some people will walk away because you won't let them tear you down. I wasn't even trying to go here, but I'm going to go ahead and go because it's just really on me. God was just recently talking to me about, that was this morning, talking to me about this certain individual that feel, and it ain't just this person, but he was just using this person that don't like the fact that you do the kind of work you do, and they don't like the fact that you confident, and they don't like the fact that you speak out. And I said, they need to stop watching me then. It's like, if you don't like it, then don't tune in. I was making a point when I was speaking on that. I forget. I don't even remember, but I lost my train of thought there. But I don't remember where I was going with that. So I'm going to leave that one alone. If it come back to me, I mention it. But I think I was speaking somewhat on how when you're not giving in to people and giving them what they want. It's what I will say about that. It's not for me to not speak out or not be confident because you don't like it, because you're not confident, because you can't speak out, or maybe what's being spoken, offend, or I want to say offend you, but I just heard convict you. It's a thing where you do what you're supposed to do for you. You do what God is telling you to do. And in this case, many a times what you're doing is pulling back from people so that God can launch you forward. One of my biggest things is, well, I wouldn't say one of my biggest things is this. If you cannot let go of people, then you can't receive the promises of God. If you can't let go of people that don't serve you, that are not good for you, regardless of whether they're directly trying to hurt and harm you and do something crazy with you or not, just because of where they just are, where it just don't mesh with you and your spirit and where you're going and where you're at. Again, sometimes we just overcome things and people still in the same place doing the same thing. And unfortunately, them kind of people do tend to try to, and I'm hearing crabs in a barrel, try to keep you where they are. I always get this depiction of gremlins. Just, you know how gremlins be? They want you to be a part of the herd and you're not. I'm reminded even of an ego. An ego is not designed to be in a chicken coop. It's designed to fly. So when you have come to a place where you have your wings and you're ready to fly, and in this case to launch, for God to launch you, you can't be among the people you can't be among them. I'll just say it like that. And yes, sometimes they might feel like you think you this, you think, it's like that's what they do with it because they're still in the same place doing the same thing, and that's just their way of coping with the fact that they're in the same place doing the same thing and you are moving forward and having to leave them behind, so to speak. Not that that's what you're trying to do. You're just trying to live your life and move forward with your life. But the truth and your purpose and what God has called you to do and be. And God is just giving me that some of these people can't really be what God called them to be because they keep going in these cycles. Again, don't mean that they won't overcome and they won't at some point, because it is a process. We have to walk through it. But what I can tell you, when you hating and tripping on somebody else, it'll never happen for you. Not while you in that kind of a space. It'll never happen. So anyway, kingdom people, I don't want to go too far into that. But God is saying that he is pulling you back from people to launch you forward. Just like that bow, that arrow in that bow. Now, God says that because they operate in a certain way, that's why they're where they are, or may continue to be where they are. Because again, you can always overcome. You ain't got to stay there. But there's a reason why you are being launched, because you operate in a certain way. And here it is, kingdom people. Romans 8:9 says, but you are not controlled by your sinful nature. You are controlled by the Spirit. If you have the Spirit of God living in you. And remember that those who do not have the Spirit of Christ living in them do not belong to him at all. So the reason why you're being launched is because first, you have the Spirit of the living God living in you. Secondly, or should I say first, because you are controlled by the Spirit of God. You're not controlled by your sinful nature. Kingdom people, this is literally what God gave me. The reason why these people going in cycles and they just in the condition they in, and I'm speaking specifically of the ones that just keep going, that you know. Some of them you don't know like that, but they old enough for you to know, okay, this for them to be in a place where they are, they're not growing, and it's just what it is. But some you've known for longer periods of time, and you can just see a continuous cycle, and you're not with that. You're moving forward. God says this is because you don't operate from your sinful nature. You operate from the Spirit of God that's living in you. And here's the thing. It says here that remember that those who do not have the Spirit of God, of Christ living in them, do not belong to him. What God literally gave me is when you continuously going in that cycle, and I'm not gonna say completely, because just because you're in a cycle don't mean the Spirit of God is not living in you. But it does mean that it's not working in you if you're not overcoming. You shouldn't still be the same. This is what God showed me literally. When you see people just still going on and on and on in that same way, furthermore, when you know that they have done some things and behaviors to come against you to try to stop all that stuff, them ones, God said that the Spirit of God is not living in them. Now, here's the thing. Even when the Spirit of God is kind of there, when you continue to, when you're not allowing it to do the work in you, did I just say this? And furthermore, now you want to come at his child that is. What happens, kingdom people, if the Spirit of God was living in you? I'm just hearing, Lord, please don't take your spirit away from me. Well, that's what happens with them. When they're continuing to just not let the work be done in them. And again, on top of that, you want to come at God's child that is allowing the work to be done in them. The Spirit of God literally removes themselves from them, is what God has shown me. I've seen it. There's some certain individuals, I'll just say, that I know that God has shown me I'm not with them. I almost don't want to say this, but I'm talking about church people too. And I'm talking about people that got titles, that teach and minister and all that. Not everybody is like that, kingdom people, of course. But you get the point that I'm making. They operate from their sinful nature. Therefore, they don't belong to God. You operate from his Christ Spirit living in you. That's why you're being launched. Kingdom people, God is pulling you back from people to launch you forward. He's pulling you back from these ones that operate in their sinful nature. Because you operate in your Christ nature, in your God nature. That's why you're being launched forward. Romans 8:6 says, so letting your sinful nature control your mind leads to death. But letting the Spirit control your mind leads to life and peace. Kingdom people, I just said this. When you're being controlled by your sinful nature, it says here it leads to, so letting your sinful nature control your mind leads to death. So if you have a sinful nature, it's controlling your mind to where you're doing dumb stuff, thinking dumb stuff. Because a lot of these people, before they act on certain things, they plotted it in their mind. Not always, but they think about it in their mind what they gonna do. You know, some people literally plot. So God is saying here, or this scripture is saying here, that it leads to death when you're doing that, when you're operating from your sinful nature. It leads to death, which is why, kingdom people, God is no longer with them if he ever was. I mean, at some point, probably. You know how that go. But when they continue to operate in their sinful nature and allow that sinful nature to control their mind, it leads to death. And death don't necessarily mean a physical death, spiritual death. If God ain't with you, the God that left you, you not his child because you operating in your sinful nature, you're dead. That's why they do what they do. That's why they can't go with you. That's why God is pulling you back from them so he can launch you forward. They operate in their sinful nature, which means what, kingdom people? They're dead. Your bones shall live and not die. That's why you being launched forward, because you choose to live and not die. You choose to operate from the Spirit of God that's living inside of you, not from your sinful nature. You put your sinful nature under subjection. I'm hearing you walk by the Spirit and not by the flesh. You don't allow your flesh to take over and take control. You don't allow your sinful nature to take over and take control, which lets you know that we have a sinful nature that we need to keep under subjection. Them ones, kingdom people, they don't do that. They allow their sinful nature to override and rule, which contributes to why they come at you, those that do. Some just stuck in a cycle that prayerfully they will overcome. I always say when people go wrong at, it's one thing to be in some issues and some stuff or whatever, because we all have to work through something. Most of us do anyway. But it's another thing to start acting out on somebody else, because they just leave people alone and do what you need to do for you. But these ones that won't do that and they just feel like they got to come at you and talk about you and be tripping on you or whatever they doing, they're operating from their sinful nature, which does lead to death. And many of these ones, kingdom people, you already seeing it. They're dead. They're spiritually dead. So, kingdom people, God is pulling you back from these people to launch you forward. That's the whole point here. The reason why you got to move around these folks, the reason why some of them got to move around you, and God is bringing you to by yourself or with the right people, is because he's launching you forward. I'm just hearing it's your time. For many of you, it's your time. And you've been hearing it for a long time, but you know now is your time because God is launching you forward. And a key indication of that is when he's pulling you back from people. Like all of a sudden and then you start seeing your stuff moving. God is pulling you back from these people to launch you forward, kingdom people. Okay? Okay. So, kingdom people, I am going to let that rest right there. If you like this video and or if it resonates with you, please just go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Then click on that red subscribe button and subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. Thank you. Then click on that bell right next to that red subscribe button so that you can get a notification every time I upload a new video, something like this from Kingdom People. Also, if you are interested in any of the services that I presently offer, or if you would like to purchase anything from my merch store, if you would like to sow a seed into me and my ministry and support the channel, you can find all the information right down below in the description box. If you would like to join my memberships, please go ahead and click on that join button. Down below is also a link in the description box, and just check out what the memberships entail. I can tell you we have the Kingdom People, which we all Kingdom People. We got Kingdom Transformers, which we all Kingdom Transformers. And then we got the Kingdom Royals, which we all Kingdom Royals. But check it out, Kingdom People. So, Kingdom People, also my first live will be on this Wednesday, June 15th at 12 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. I don't know what that is for you, but yeah, check me out. Check me out. I'm gonna have a prophetic word going forth, and then we'll do a little Q&A. It's called my lives are called Coffee Times with Latricia, or Tea Time, or Water Time, depending on what I'm drinking at the time. So anyway, Kingdom People, check me out. Check me out. Live, that is. Yeah, Kingdom People. We are history makers. We are world changers. We are dream successors. We are wealth generators. We are manifestors. We are curse breakers. And we most definitely are transformers. More than meets the eye. Yeah, Kingdom people. We are. Kingdom people, I love you all so very much, and I thank you all so very much for being here with me, spending this time. Y'all know I don't want to leave y'all, but I do have to go right now. But I will be back to hold my Kingdom people down. Yeah. Kingdom people, I'm tripping. Kingdom people, with that being said, much love, light, and peace, and many blessings to you all. Kingdom people, that is my time. Jesus girl really need to get on up out of here, because that's her time, right? She's out. Peace.